Joining us now on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline via Zoom, over Zoom for the first time, is ESPN's Bill Connelly. Bill, it's great to see you on BYU Sports Nation.
Yeah, this makes me uneasy. I like the pictures, the 8-year-old pictures that you guys had last time. That worked a lot better, I think.
I think it's a Puma shirt you have on, but it kind of looks like a cougar, bro.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we can say that was intentional.
Okay. Dressing for the occasion. We appreciate that. Bill, we were talking about this during the break, have been very busy on social media interacting with BYU fans and Utah fans for that matter.
Welcome to our life.
How's your social media life been over the last week plus?
I mean, BYU fans tend to understand that I'm going to give, respect where it's deserved. And I've given a lot of respect to BYU when it deserves it, I guess. The last week has been interesting because that piece, I go through each position, three best quarterbacks or two good quarterbacks in the story I want to tell and whatnot. I go through every position, just got yelled at all week. Where's Najee Harris? Where's Terrace Marshall? Where's Zach Wilson? On the list. So I thought it was being a good thing and, showing love to certain players, but it was all about who I didn't put on the list, apparently.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday because we listed the greatest quarterbacks in BYU history. We were talking about what would Zach Wilson need to do to make what I deemed as my A list or B list. Only 6 on the A list. But once you rank someone's going, hey, why am I 14th and not 8th? Yep. So I get it. Let's recap your midseason awards that mentioned BYU. So BYU is the 4th best team that's played so far. Satake is the coach of the year. Tyler Algier is the 3rd best running back. Jake Oldroyd 3rd on the Lou Groza list. Clark Barrington on the 3rd best interior lineman. And you hate Zach Wilson.
Correct. Yeah, he's terrible. No, I mean, it really was like, a quarterback's list is going to be really tricky when Trevor Lawrence has looked as good as Trevor Lawrence has and Mac Jones has looked as good as he has. That leaves only one spot. And basically I wanted to, I tried to make it very clear that guys like Reggie Roberson for SMU, I just wanted to put them on there to acknowledge what they've done over the first half before we kind of forget about him because he's injured. I wanted to make sure to give a little space to Coastal's quarterback there because he's been pretty incredible. And that left room for nobody else. But clearly Zach Wilson, if you watch the ESPN broadcasts, plenty of love given to Zach Wilson from the network at the moment. And I mean, obviously deservedly so.
Yeah, he's not lacking in words of affirmation. That is for sure. Bill Connelly of ESPN with us on BYU Sports Nation. When you look at Kalani Sitake and you named him your midseason coach of the year, some critics say, well, who is BYU beating? Well, come on. It's got to be a coach from a Power 5 conference. Why did you feel like Kalani Sitake deserves the midseason coach of the year nod?
Well, I mean, the first part of it was, compared to expectations. BYU was supposed to be fine this year. Clearly, they're better than fine. Clearly, they have overachieved dramatically compared to whatever we might have thought whatever level we thought they'd be at in August. So, I mean, that's part of it. And as far as the ain't played nobody stuff that we always deal with in college football, I mean, hey, I'm not going to hold that against BYU because their schedule fell apart completely in August, and this is what they could come up with, and they deserve credit for finding teams to play, period. And then also, you can still set a baseline expectation for each game. What would the average team do against this opponent? What would a very good team do against this opponent? And clearly BYU has, the second half against UTSA aside, they have absolutely dominated at a level that you would expect a very good team to do. So that means they're a very good team. It's just kind of a process of setting appropriate bars and figuring out how well you clear it. So, I mean, that was the biggest part. That list that had them fourth best team. I have my SP Plus rankings. They are heavily driven by preseason projections and a lot of those factors because it's a predictive rating. But I just wanted to look at, like, if I just took all that out entirely and judge teams only by what they have done in the first 3 to 6 games this year, obviously with the way BYU has played for the most part, they're gonna grade out very well on that list.
Okay, let's talk about where you feel like BYU fits right now, because we were talking about, hey, if BYU's 10-0, no games get canceled due to COVID the rest of the way, BYU beats Boise State and San Diego State, and they're 10-0. Are they going to make it into a New Year's Six? We feel confident that because of where at least the AP poll right now, we'll see on November 24th with the college football playoff poll, that BYU would be probably in a pretty good spot, that they wouldn't need to add a game or anything. How do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, we never really know what the committee's going to do with an independent that isn't Notre Dame. Although I guess Notre Dame's not an independent this year, but obviously we could get surprises there. But I would assume that just the oddity of this year, combined with the fact that, what we've seen so far, and the Big Ten could change this, but what we've seen so far is Alabama looks like Alabama, Clemson looks like Clemson. Who else is good? Georgia obviously I think has carved out a role there for the top 5 or so, but all that next tier, the Oklahomas and Texases and Auburns and LSUs, they've all kind of stunk so far, at least compared to expectations. So that would open the door for a BYU type of team to get a lot further up that list than you would expect. So I don't know who they could schedule with an extra game that would actually impress the committee enough. It would just introduce another opportunity to lose, if nothing else. But I would assume their odds are pretty decent.
Bill, you listed BYU as the 4th best team that you have seen play to this point. All BYU fans, blue goggles on, want to know, how can BYU be one of the top 4 teams at the end of the season? Is there even a roadmap available for BYU to be a legitimate college football playoff potential?
I mean, this year more than other years, yes. Because again, like that second tier is gone at the moment. Assuming Oklahoma State loses and the Big 12 is officially eliminated. If a Pac-12 team doesn't go undefeated, I don't, obviously the way things play out, you never know for sure, but I would assume that a Pac-12 team probably has to be undefeated to get in. Unless there's just an absolutely dominant 6-1 team that lost by 1 to Oregon or whatever. So, it would seem like the road's a little clearer. You need Ohio State to lose probably. But even if they don't, that number 4 spot, if Alabama beats Georgia handily in the SEC title game and there's no Big 12 team in the running, there's not a second Big 10 team in the running, there's not a second or a first Pac-12 team in the running, then somebody has to get the 4th spot. And I do think the door is more open there than normal. It's just with this schedule, it's gonna take a lot of breaks to get all the way up to 4th.
Yeah, it feels like the committee could look at, and frankly, I would look at, okay, all the Big Ten and the SEC, they played all Power 5 teams. BYU hasn't played a single one. Right. They would have beaten Boise State. So New Year's 6 is realistically that would be incredible. And what do you think of what BYU's done in terms of at one point BYU had 2 games on the schedule with 5 weeks to go to the season. Now they they have 11. One has been postponed. Probably not going to happen with Army. We'll see. But what Tom Hommel has done to at least put something together, and then BYU's played really well on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know the word scheduling intent have been said a lot by committee members and whatnot. I know it's a thing, but the intent was we have no games to play, and it's it's August, and we've got to figure out how to play a lot of games. So they found teams to play, and I don't think they should be even slightly punished for that. There was they had 5 P5 teams
6
on the original schedule, 6, and that was pretty good, and they would have fared pretty well against that schedule. You go back through the teams they would have been playing, that would have been a very, very good case for it. If they had that schedule, they go, maybe not 12-0, but they would have won probably 10 or 11 games with the level they've played so far. That's a good resume right there. And I would hope that the committee would look past, among other things, Houston would be a mid to lower level P5 team.
Yes.
Boise State would be a mid to high level P5 team. It's not their fault they're not in a P5. They're still good teams. And BYU absolutely just laid the hammer down late against Houston. And if they do the same to Boise State, they should get credit for that.
Hey, there's an argument that San Diego State would be a low-level Power 5 team, right, when you look at Kansas and others.
Well, right, yeah, Kansas is a P5 win, but, beating Boise State and San Diego State isn't. That's
right.
Ridiculous.
Right.
Bill Connelly of ESPN on BYU Sports Nation. I know we're talking a lot in hypotheticals here, Bill, but because you brought up the Pac-12, what do you think the chances are of the Pac-12 going 7 consecutive weeks with no hiccups so that all the Pac-12 teams actually play 7 games? Is it crazy to think that could actually happen?
I mean, it's going to take luck, obviously. All of this takes luck, and we've seen the teams that have gotten a little bit unlucky so far. But I do think having that daily testing piece is enormous just for limiting spread. By the time somebody's tested positive, they've been around a whole heck of a lot of people. In theory, the daily testing, the rapid result testing allows you to, at the very least, say, if someone tests positive, the bars go up immediately, and they're locked away from everybody else. So, in theory, when you've seen teams missing like 18 or 20 guys because of contact tracing, in theory, if you have the daily testing, it's like 6 or 8 or something like that. And it's a lot easier to navigate through with that. So I'm more confident in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten getting through their schedules. Big Ten obviously has a couple more games, which is tricky in and of itself. And now coaches are testing positive, so who knows? But just theoretically, I feel better about the Pac-12 getting through it because of the daily testing than anything else.
Yeah, LSU and Clemson took the approach of just getting it before the season. So anyway, that's another subject. Let's finish with this. What do your numbers say about BYU's chance of going undefeated the rest of the way?
I'm going to look away from my camera here because that's really good television. Right now, it's basically just about a 50% chance is what my SP Plus rankings say, because Boise is obviously the biggest obstacle there. San Diego State is, I think, like an 88% win probability at the moment. So it really comes down to that Boise game more than anything else.
Bill, we love reading your stuff. We consume it basically on a daily basis.
An unhealthy level.
For those that are not familiar with what you do and where to find it, inform our watchers and listeners.
If you just follow me on Twitter at ESPN_Bill C, that's everything gets filtered to there at one point or another.
Easy enough. Bill, great to talk to you, man. Let's do it again soon.
Sounds good.
ESPN's Bill Connelly on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Deseret First, you know why, we show how.